God says, I placed a hidden gift inside you years ago. Something you forgot you had. It's still there waiting. Don't scroll past this. Or you might miss your chance to finally unlock it. You know which weekday always makes you feel down? The day you don't say anything bad about, but the one you keep to yourself that makes your chest tight before anything goes wrong. But you haven't told anyone why it's called Something Chosen One. And you'll know what it is by the end of this message. You'll also understand why it always comes on the same day every week instead of becoming more spread out like a normal bad mood would. As soon as you could think of a word, something tried to get your attention. It doesn't scream. You haven't even noticed that it's been doing this for a long time. It waits for the day when you're not paying attention. You will understand why. It always seems to happen on the same day. By the end of this message, you will also know what that day has been asking of you. That day. 3 things are coming together and none of them are what you've been blaming. The first is a mind that has long known that bad things will happen before good ones. Another type of body is one that has learned to tense up when it doesn't need to. Third, getting so little for so long makes good things feel like mistakes that need to be fixed. So, here it is. You can finally get through the day if it has a real name. It will stop being a wall you hit every week. It won't go away as long as it's not named. It always finds a new today, a new time of day that feels the same, or a new reason to make you carry the same old load. As long as you don't answer it, pay close attention before anything else is said. Listen to what this day is telling you. And don't think that it's just who you are like you might have done in the past. This is not a warning to stay away from you. You should take note of this. Snorts, feel free to stay small. This is not meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up. Before this pattern repeats itself again without your permission. Someone or something has quietly taken over your Thursdays or whatever day that is in your week. It's not a person or a punishment. There is still an old signal that doesn't know what year it is. Today, as you listen, a chance is coming up around this time. There is no clock going off. This chance doesn't close all the way at midnight, but it does open a little less each time it comes around. And when a chance is finally seen, it grows bigger than ever. Which one this turns into depends on what you do in the next few minutes. This message has 3 different events that will not feel the same. First, you'll understand something about your mind that you couldn't put into words before Ethan today. A quiet process that people have thought was your personality for years. Second, something in your chest will relax in a way you didn't expect in the next few minutes. Snorts, you will feel it before you can explain it. Third, you'll get a real simple action before this message ends. This is something you can do the next time that day starts to get short. That's right. This isn't just information you'll quickly forget by evening. When was the last time someone offered you something good with no strings attached and you found a way to turn it down before you even said yes? Snorts, one that you tried to avoid giving. Just out of habit, you switched from an easier way to a harder one. That's not being modest. That's not being careful. That quick response is based on a process that is older than any choice you have ever made about yourself. I'm only going to name half of it right now. Something was turned off in you a long time ago and you didn't have a chance to change it. Turned down for a time that still works today. Just naming half of it should already feel like something loosening, a little space where there was none before. That's real. And you're allowed to feel it. But it's only the start of what this process actually is and the rest of it. The part that explains why it always comes back to the same day is still coming. If any of that felt true for you, let your mind mark this moment the way you'd mark a page you want to come back to. There's a place to keep this conversation going in the comments below where you're listening, and I'll meet you there. Follow me. What comes next is the part that explains everything the tightening in your chest has been trying to tell you. Everything I have covered across this channel is now in one place. The prayers, the teachings, the daily blessings, it is all inside the Daily Miracle Manual link in the description. Please know that every seed you plant in this mission grows into a torch that shines in someone else's darkness. Whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community does not go to a channel. Your actions are supporting a divine mission to save lost souls. But more than your support, we want your presence. When you head to our community through the link, end up in the description, the pinned comment. You aren't just visiting a site. You are entering a community of like-minded believers. This is a sanctuary where you can post your prayer requests, lift up the burdens of others, and engage in daily discussions with a family that speaks the language of faith. Whether you are joining one of our membership tiers for deeper study, sowing a seed of faith, or simply joining our daily morning prayers, you are helping us build a global altar of worship. Heaven moves through willing voices, but it grows through a community that stands together. Each gift you give acts as living water for those in our community seeking healing and hope. Give and it will be given to you, is the promise that sustains our shared mission. I invite you now to step out of the shadows and into this circle of prayer. Come with purpose. Join the conversation and plant your seed in fertile ground. Let's open the heavens together. Release your seed today. Join our community and see what God brings back into your life. There's a specific kind of tiredness that has nothing to do with sleep. You can rest 8 hours and still wake up already bracing. You can have nothing wrong in front of you and still feel dread arriving early like a guest who let themselves in before you answer the door. If that sounds familiar, you're not imagining it and you're not broken. You're simply carrying a pattern that has never once been explained to you in simple words. Here's what that pattern actually is said as simply as I can say it. What you've been calling a bad mood is not a mood at all. What you've been calling regret before anything has even happened is not a warning about the future either. No matter how real it feels in the moment, none of it comes from not trying hard enough. And it never did. It comes from 2 signals inside you that went quiet, not at the same time, but one after the other, in a specific order. And here's the part almost no one tells you. Closing that door once doesn't fix it because the second signal stays shut until the first one is working again, and the first one stays partly working until the second one opens behind it. Put them back in the order they were lost. And what has been coming back to you every single week finally stops because it finally gets what it had been reaching for all along. Just a sequence that got messed up a long time ago and needs to be finished in the right order. That's the whole picture of what you're dealing with. It's not a character flaw or a spiritual failing. You may have seen parts of this before, but never put them all together. Thoughts used to flow freely through this mind, but by early afternoon, it feels like it's wading through fog. A body that gets tense before it has anything to get tense against, as if you were being realistic, humble, or just being careful. You talk yourself out of good things as soon as they come up. You may have also seen that this isn't a coincidence. It moves in a certain way. It keeps showing up on the same day and at the same time like it has a plan you didn't agree to. There's no chance in that. And it's not a curse either. It is a process. And you can understand processes. Once they are known, they can be stopped. Let's begin with the first signal. The one that stops working long before the second one does. This is where all real changes begin. This is the one that's under most of the things you've tried and quietly grown out of. I don't know what your week looks like or what surprises you. I can't tell you exactly when this changes for you. And anyone who says they can give you a date is giving you information they don't have. The order is something I can tell you because I've seen it happen over and over again. It can't be the other way around or both at the same time. The first signal comes before the second. The second problem is something that most people spend years trying to fix while the first problem stays dim. They don't understand why nothing works. They are trying to open a door whose hinge hasn't been fixed yet. Not because they don't have the willpower to do so. After reading the same sentence 3 times, nothing seems to stick. Even though it's been 30 years, a song you loved when you were 9 still plays in your head note for note. You never even try to remember it. Even if you spend all afternoon with interesting people, you might not remember anything. But the smell of your childhood kitchen can still stop you in the middle of a thought. There is a big gap there. This is the most obvious hint you've been given, but almost no one stops to ask what it means. You said it was age. It's what you call stress. Some of you have said worse things about it behind closed doors. The secret feeling that you were never meant to keep anything you had as a child, that other people had the kind of mind that stays sharp, but you didn't. None of those things about what happened to you. This is what took place as you learn new things without getting tired. As you take in the world without first checking to see if it's safe to be amazed. Your brain sends a signal called gamma. It's used a lot by kids. That's why a 5-year-old can ask 40 questions in a row and mean each one. The world starts to turn down that signal around age 7. They didn't mean to hurt you and they didn't do it all at once. Instead, they did it slowly through every lesson that taught you to be skeptical before you explored and every room that rewarded you for being quiet instead of interested. For years, I've seen the same pattern in different people. It was so consistent that I gave it its own name because I got tired of describing it in different ways each time. It's what I've come to call the decline effect. I know that phrase because that's how it looks on the inside, not because a lab told me it. A bright thing slowly going out while everyone tells you that you're just growing up. This isn't just a guess that looks like science. It has been studied for decades at MIT, Princeton, Harvard, and other top research universities. What changes in gamma activity as children grow up? A neuroscientist named Dr. Robert Lake spent 30 to 4 years of his career studying this question alone, seeing bright, curious young minds quiet down as the stress of everyday life set in. It's not true that you lost your gift all those years. You felt slower and less clear-headed than you thought you should be. Their job was to carry a gift that had been dimmed for you before you were old enough to refuse. You never caused trouble in this story. That was the dimmer. This is also the reason why your heavy feeling never stays the same all week. A signal that is dimmed doesn't stay dimmed at the same level. It drops right when your defenses are already weak. Like at the end of a long day of work in the late afternoon when it's not as bright, or on the day that you just know you'll be tired the most. That isn't blind faith. In the same way that a phone doesn't die all at once during the day. That is a signal that is finally showing that it is at its weakest. It just dies because there was nothing left to build on. That's why the day that keeps throwing you off isn't picking you at random or being pushed around by someone else. It's your own weak signal reaching its lowest point of the week. On the day that your rhythm is at its weakest, the day will no longer feel like something that is happening to you, but like something that you can finally see coming. You can do this right now for free, and it has nothing to do with what I'm going to talk about next. One everyday event from before you turned 8 years old. Not a big one. Just a doorway you used to go through. A certain quality of light in the afternoon. How a room makes you feel that you haven't thought about in a long time. Really pay attention to what happens in your chest as you hold it for one breath. That flicker you just felt isn't nostalgia or your memory playing tricks on you. Everything that was piled on top of the signal is still there and whole. It was waiting for permission that was never officially given. Take a moment to think about that before we go any further. Snorts, you don't have to move on right away. Think about what you felt in your chest and how that old room flickered in your mind. Let it stay for a while. There is no test at the end, and no one needs to see what you just did. You already know this is more than one sign, because waking up your mind is not the same thing as finally getting what you've been waiting for in your life. We still have to go through the second half, which is, to be honest, the heavier half. It can wait a little longer though. Just notice that something inside you moved that hasn't moved in a long time for now. Yes, you're right that this is starting to feel less like a message and more like a conversation. You can keep the conversation going. People who felt the same flicker have already started to gather in the comments section below where you are reading this. Let everyone know if you answered yes before your mind could fully process it. Type 1 receive this now and let it happen in the real world, not just your mind. Some of you may have already felt that flicker settle in a certain place, more like a recognition than just a feeling. This next part is for people like you who said that even if it hasn't arrived yet, you should still stay because it comes a little late for some people than for others, and that's fine. What I just told you about this dimming and waking up is not just a theory that I want you to believe. There were two separate researchers working years apart in two different directions who both came to the same conclusion about how this fixing really happens. You can now hold their work in your hands, or rather hear it. There is a name for the first part of that work. This song is called the Genius Song, and its only purpose is to wake up the signal we've been talking about. The one that slowly goes out around age 7. The complete guide, every daily prayer, every spiritual tool, everything I've put together to help you grow your faith is down in the description. It's called the Daily Miracle Manual. Now stay right here with me. Because as this awakening grows inside you, know that helping with this mission is not a joke. It is a sign from God. You can support this work through the link in the description or the pinned comment, whether by buying a coffee, making a donation, or becoming a member of our community. By doing so, you become part of Jesus's plan to save souls who are still stuck in fog. Every seed turns into light that fights against darkness. If you water others, you will be watered yourself. Jesus says this is not history. It is a living promise about your future. Come into this moment with faith and a plan. What God has already planned for your life can be unlocked through your giving. The second piece also has a name, and it talks about the part of this that we haven't opened yet. The part that determines whether a mind that is awake can actually receive anything. The wealth signal is the name of that piece. One fixes it. Someone gets this is the most important thing I say today. That's the only way they work because of a reason that you will fully understand before this message ends. Keep both names loose for now. Below this message is what you need when you need it. And we are going to go back to the part that talks about why the order is so important. There will be one thing that makes this morning different from any other in a few months. You open your eyes before the alarm goes off. Snorts, so no worry has a chance to come in first. You feel lighter and more awake. In the morning you have in years. Nothing in your chest feels the same. You test it for a moment by lying there like you would test a sore muscle that stops hurting all of a sudden. There is no longer the knot you know is under your ribs. You don't feel fear about the next day as the first thing that comes to mind. It sounds more like a small open question. The kind you stopped asking when you were 8 years old. A long time ago, when everything still seemed interesting. If you look out the window when you wake up, the light will still look the same. Not because the light has changed, but because you have changed. You're interested in small things again. Kindness from a stranger stays on instead of slipping away. Again, you find yourself wondering about something for no reason. It just feels good to wonder. Place that morning next to the one you woke up to today. The one where the weight came on before you did. Between those two mornings, there is no time or luck between them. You turned down this signal a long time ago and it hasn't been turned back on in all these years. It is possible to close that gap. It has always been possible to close it. The thing that got in the way was never work. It was the decline effect. Working in the background and there was no clear goal to work toward. If you're thinking to yourself, Snorts, this all sounds a little too neat and easy, that's not a sign of a problem with you. It means you give something a lot of thought before you trust it. And that has probably saved you more than once. Let's not just ask you to believe this. Let's ask something less important. This is what I want to know. Not if it's true, but if it works. Through two different lines of brainwave research led by people who have never worked together or for the same boss. The same conclusion has been reached about what fades in the mind over time and what it takes to, Snorts, bring it back. Ads don't say things like that. Two different roads meet at the same door, which is usually a better sign of reality than one road by itself. If anything here starts to make sense of a feeling you've had for years, but never named, say it out loud to yourself. Or in the comments below. While you're listening, now is the time to stop calling it a mood and call it what it is. Take some time to think about this. The old weight always seems to find you on that day, the one you've come to fear. It doesn't need a calendar to keep finding you. It requires a pattern that is left alone. And a pattern that is left alone changes size. It gets stronger. Imagine a path that has been cut into the grass. When you walk it for the first time, there aren't many marks. The 10th time you can see a line. After the 100th time, the ground knows the shape of your feet and won't let grass grow there again without a lot of work. It's the same in your mind. Every week when that hard hour comes around and you tense up instead of being open, it wears the path a little deeper. The next week it only takes a little less to send you down it. This is why some weeks it seems like the day is getting worse instead of better. Even though nothing has changed outside, there is no one punishing you. You're just standing on a path that you've been on many times before without anyone point out another way to get across the same ground. But here is the most important part, and it's really good news. A wore-out path isn't meant to stay that way. Only because you've never stopped it at its source does it feel permanent. You've only ever stopped it later after the bracing has begun and the dread has arrived. Stop it at the source where the two signals live. The path doesn't need to get worn down over time. It stops being walked on. You're closer to stopping than a single hard week has made you think. I'm not just giving you this little comfort to make you feel better right now. It's a fact about how sets of events work. The pattern can't go anywhere else after the first signal is fixed and the second one opens right after it. It's not being pushed down. It is being finished, like how a story ends instead of just stopping. If that hit you close to home, if you saw the shape of your own worn path, hold on to that moment of recognition. It has more work to do than it looks like it has right now. As soon as it calms down, let's keep walking because we are going to the second signal. The one that tells you if anything good actually gets to you when your mind wakes up again. You have the right to fully understand this before you make a choice. There's nothing here that needs you to trust before you can understand. Say the words understanding first in the comments below while you are listening. If that's where you are right now, working quietly to understand instead of being ready to act, then keep going with me at the same speed. Some of you are sitting with this and quietly thinking that you've done something similar before. Many things can help you change your mind in 30 days, like meditation, writing in a journal, saying positive things to yourself in the mirror every morning. Maybe a breathing exercise, a healing playlist, or a course that promised to do all of these things. There's also a chance that none of it really stuck after the first few weeks. Those things did not go wrong for you. That needs to be said out loud because this is where most people quietly blame themselves, which is not where the blame should be. Affirmations, meditation, and breath work all ask your mind to change from the inside out. This can only happen slowly and only if you keep doing them with enough discipline to get through the resistance. This thing we're talking about works in a different way. It gets to the signal from outside the loop of willpower, which is why it can move things that discipline alone couldn't. There is, however, a second reason why those first attempts failed that is more important than the first. Each tool you used was only aimed at one signal. And there has never been just one sign that something was wrong with your life. It's been two turned off one after the other. You carefully aimed at half of a problem, but the half you didn't aim at was the one that shut the other one. That's not a lack of effort. You can't meet a two-part problem with incomplete tools. That's just practical fact. You would be like trying to open a door with two different locks while turning only one key over and over again and not getting it to work. Now we'll talk about this second lock. Things that happen after the mind wakes up depend on the signal we haven't opened yet, because this is something that almost no one tells you about. This is the most important thing I'll say to you today. Just because you wake up your mind doesn't mean you automatically receive something. It just means that you are now awake enough to see what you have been missing the whole time. You haven't told anyone about this part of your story for years, but it has cost you the most. Not the fog or being tired. When good things were right in front of you, but your body turned them away before your mind could decide what to do. You hear yourself say, no. Before you even finish making up your mind, when someone offers to help you, when someone compliments you, you give it back right away. Deflection. Like how you would deflection a ball that was thrown too hard. You've quietly wanted more for yourself your whole life, snorts, and you've turned down 100 small offers of it without even realizing it. That's what you call freedom. Some of you have called it being humble. Some of you have said it's just because they're not the type of person who finds things easy. It's not any of those. As you know, quick reactions are installed, not chosen. This means that you didn't choose to have it, just like you didn't choose to blink. Take a moment to really think about it. A raise that you didn't ask for and that you kept telling yourself not to fully accept. The harder road was chosen over an easier one that someone who loves you offered. The harder road felt more earned. That one person tried to enjoy your company all night while you looked for little ways to shrink yourself in the room. That wasn't a choice at all. Everything was done quickly. This is the process that goes under it. This is the part one said would be the heavier half. The second signal is called beta, and it tells your brain to be alert and look for danger. This is what an adult brain does to keep you safe. Some of it is helpful, but modern life's constant low-level worry about money being enough and staying ahead of whatever could go wrong next keeps that signal going almost all the time. When beta stays that high for that long, it blocks out a different signal called alpha. Alpha is the signal of real openness, which is the state your mind needs to be in order to really receive anything like a chance, a kindness, or just rest. There is a doorway that lets things in that gets narrow until it is barely open at all. When alpha gets crowded out, since I've learned to recognize it, this narrowing is what I call the stress signal. You will see it in almost every polite refusal you've ever made without meaning to. There is also a name for the doorway. The reception channel is what we'll call it because that's exactly what it is. The way that good things get to you. Even if a mind is fully awake, curious, and focused, it can still be at a closed reception channel trying to get through things it can't quite get through. From the very beginning, this part of the research was not at all like the first part. Dr. Stephen Newton, a former neuroscientist at Stanford, eventually left the academic path to share what he had learned about this exact narrowing. His work builds on research from Stanford, Boston University, and other institutions that have studied what reliably opens the reception channel again after it has been closed. It is said that you should receive like a child does without first asking if you deserve the gift. This teaching is much older than any of the research. Being able to teach at the same time as this process is not a coincidence. In older language, it talks about the same doorway. It was never true that bad things were going to happen to you. Things were coming. They were just coming through a signal that wasn't strong enough to hold them. Like how a hand tenses up instead of opening. Not a life of scarcity, a life of good things arriving at a door you have been trained without your permission to keep half shut. I think of a man I will simply call the engineer because that is what he did for a living. He was proud that he didn't owe anyone anything. He flatly turned down gifts. He wouldn't let a friend pay for dinner. He turned down a partnership offer once because he thought he wasn't ready for it yet. Even though the offer was fair in every way. Years of steady income didn't change his luck when it came to big chances, but they always seemed to slip away at the last minute like clockwork. After fixing the same reception channel for 2 weeks, an old client asked about a new project. He said yes right away before he could think of a reason to say no. For the first time in his adult life, placed that next to the other signal we opened together. It doesn't matter if your mind woke up or not. It's still at the same place with the door half closed. Now that it's awake enough, snorts, it can feel everything, it's still missing. That's why the order is so important and why one signal without the other has always felt like it was almost enough but never quite got there. If someone offers you something like help, a compliment, a seat, or a small act of kindness, here's what you can do. Don't make it better. Do not dodge it with a joke or a quick no. Say yes one time. Then really pay attention to where your body tries to take it back. That resistance you just found is exactly what we've been talking about the whole time. Calling it out is the first real step toward closing it for good. Now is the time if you are still with me. Say the channel opens in the comments below while you're listening. This is when you should stop just understanding your pattern and start letting it go. Just like you gave the first realization some time to rest. Give that some time to rest too. You have now met both signals. The one that makes you wonder less and the one that makes you close your hands. It's not easy to meet both of them at the same time. You don't have to think about how to solve either one right now. You don't have to solve a puzzle to understand something. It may just show up and stay with you while the rest of what it means works itself out. I need to be honest about something before we go any further because it's more important here than almost anywhere else in this message. Perhaps you feel that this is for someone further along than you. Someone who is more disciplined, more spiritually ready, or who somehow deserves it more. Just in case you had that thought, I want you to understand this. Well, that thought doesn't show anything true about you. The reception channel itself is blocking the very thing that could make it open, just like a closed channel does. This was never meant for people who are already somewhere. It was made for people who are okay with admitting that the kid inside them has been sleeping or that their hands have been clasped together for longer than they wanted to say out loud. It's not weakness to say that. It leads to the door. I also want to tell you the truth. I can't keep my promise. That part is really different for everyone. So, I can't tell you which week it changes for you or how it will feel the first time it does. And anyone who says they know your exact schedule is telling you something they don't really know. The order is something I can tell you because I have seen it happen over and over again. The kid came first, then the person who was sent. Even though the pace changes, that part stays the same. Please picture one more scene for me. This should be the last one before we put everything together. You are being given something good without any strings attached. A number on a page, a door opening in a place you didn't expect, or a name calling you even though you had given up hope that it would happen. And take a look at the strangest thing about this picture. You can't say no to it with anything in you. You just stand there and wait for it to come. You don't brace your hands. They stay open before something good would sneak up on you. Your chest used to get tight, but now it doesn't. There is silence where there used to be protest. Where people would whisper that this is too much, too soon, or meant for someone else. Put that person next to someone who has always been trying to get things but never quite manages to do so. The space between those two people was never caused by work or a lack of worth. It was a channel that had been closed for a long time and had never been shown how to open again. For a short time, let's do something together. Not a hard thing. You can sit or stand where you are now. Drop your shoulders by half an inch more than they were before. You don't need to go anywhere or get anything ready because this will only take a few slow breaths. Think of a room. Today, it's not a memory. It's just a picture. The child is still sitting in the same spot where they were left. In front of a door that has been shut for a long time. The child isn't really sad. The kid is just waiting like kids do when they wait without giving up yet. I want to give you a new way to think about it. And I want you to hear it land instead of just hearing it pass by. This is not the time to reach for something outside of yourself. You're being given something that has been meant for you the whole time. And you're being told maybe for the first time in years to just take it without working for it. Let your hand hang open where it is now with the palm facing up a little. Allow each breath to leave you a little more slowly than the last. Honestly, pay attention to what changes. It could be small. Small is real. That's the reception channel doing what it was designed to do for a short time. So, not yet and not for long. It won't stay open on its own. But that's not a failure. It's just information about what needs to be fixed. Be sure that everyone knows quietly that you claimed this moment before it ends. Say, I claim this in the comments below where you are listening. Now that you know all of this, why does it not change anything by itself? You can now see how it works. You know what both signals mean, and your chest may still do the same thing tomorrow on the same bad day. The answer is not just inside what you understand. It was never there. And I could not explain it any further to make it there. It's simple. This is what you know that you didn't know an hour ago. You lost two signals and they lost their power in a certain order. The first was the decline effect, which made you lose your inner child. The part of you that was made to be curious and learn easily. The stress signal was the second one. It shut down the reception channel, the part of you that was built to actually receive what comes in. You can't really fix the second one if the first one is still dim, no matter how hard you work on it by yourself. This fixes a pattern that I have come to call child mind reversal, where the mind wakes up first and is only then finally allowed to receive. It fixes the pattern before it can receive. The core identity that ties everything we've talked about today is this. You are a chosen one, a child of light. Not because you worked hard for years to earn that title, but because a part of you remembered that this was always who you were, even when things got dark and your hands were closed. The clarity you just got is real. And I'm not going to take it away from you by acting like it's not. But being clear has never opened a channel on its own. There was a time when you had both signals at the same time. You were fully awake and open like a child who could wonder and receive at the same time without requesting either. That's not a figure of speech. That's just what you were before anything made it smaller. The two went quiet at different times, not at the same time. That's why half measures never really closed the gap for you. Before the receiving closed, the wonder dimmed. After it, it closed like a door that someone had already walked through. What is about to be named exists because someone remembered the order and built something that exactly followed it instead of guessing. Having that on your side is not a small thing. Long ago, a teacher talked about a kingdom for people who turn back into children. Not many people ever realized he was talking about a real sequence. Earlier today, you heard two names, but neither of them meant much to you at the time. They weren't just extra words. It was planned that they be there. And now is the time that they were meant to be there. The first makes the wonder better. It brings back the exact signal we spent the whole message tracing back to when we were kids. The light that goes out around age 7 because of the stress of daily life. There is already something that was made to undo that dimming, and it has been around for a while now, quietly doing what it was made to do for the people who found it. The 7th minute track is called the Genius Song, and it's all about brain entrainment. That same binaural technology that we went over together when we talked about what happens to gamma activity over time. You don't need to hear that again. It's already on you. Dr. Robert Lake is a neuroscientist who has spent 34 years building his career around this question. Researchers at MIT, Princeton, Harvard, and other top research universities have also mapped the same area from their own unique points of view. It only gives the child the chance to wake up again. Curiosity coming back to where fog used to be. There is wonder again where numbness used to be according to old teaching. Become like a little child, but the rest of that sentence was left out. I already talked about an engineer who kept turning down things that should have been his. It wasn't this first piece that finally got to him. It was the second one, the one that was still ahead of us. It will also have a name soon. And after the first wave does everything it was meant to do, almost no one is told this. The kid wakes up. That much is true, and I'm not going to play it down, but getting to the cupboard is not the same as waking up. The child is wide awake and stands in front of the second door, which is still closed. He or she can't reach what's behind it yet. Our group already named the channel of reception, which is the one where the stress signal stays narrow. Fixing wakes the child up on its own. Getting something by itself gives a child who is still sleeping something it can't hold yet. Fixing first and receiving second is the only way to make this into what the old teaching actually meant. First act like a child and then get what the child gets. Right now is a good time to pause and say something if any of this is landing the way it should. In the comments section below where you are listening, type the words. The order is clear. This is where the two conversations meet. The second wave picks up right where the first one left off. The child is still standing in front of a door that hasn't opened yet. Wide awake. These are the parts that finish what fixing could only start. It's an audio track called the wealth signal that lasts for 5 minutes and comes with a spoken phrase called the 9-word script that is played while the audio plays. You already know what it's trying to do because we went through the process together without giving any products names. The alertness that never really goes away. Beta hyperactivity is pushed back down and alpha, the signal of real openness, is given room to rise again. This opens up the reception channel instead of narrowing it. The 9-word script is just an old method that has been used for a long time. Longer than any of this research, it is spoken while the widening is happening. This piece of work was written by Dr. Stephen Newton, a former neuroscientist at Stanford, who quit the academic path to share what he had learned about this narrowing and how reliably it opens. Again, his findings sit alongside work out of Stanford, Boston University, and other research institutions studying the very same closing and opening of the reception channel. Once the child is awake and this channel is open behind it, what tends to change is quiet rather than dramatic. An opportunity arrives and is not immediately talked out of. A compliment lands and is not handed back. Something that used to require a struggle simply arrives instead, the way the old teaching described receiving without first proving you had earned it. Some of you are already asking fairly why this takes 2 things instead of 1. That is a reasonable question and it deserves a real answer rather than a sales line. Here is the answer. The same one we opened with said again. Now that you can feel the weight of it, what has felt stuck in you was never one signal. It was 2 switched off in a specific order, and fixing them in that same order is what finally gives back what was always yours to begin with. The wealth signal alone would be reaching without a mind awake enough to actually receive. The genius song alone would be a mind awake and still empty-handed. Neither one by itself, snorts, was ever going to be the whole answer because neither one by itself was ever the whole problem. Starting something new is a real commitment, and I will not pretend otherwise just to make this sound easier than it is. But the commitment here is measured in minutes each day, not in money. And there is no ongoing charge waiting behind it once you begin. If any part of you is still weighing whether this is worth the try, the guarantee waiting ahead covers that hesitation completely. So let's keep moving. There is a path here that simply asks you to begin, and there is a path that completes. What beginning was always for complete, fixing both waves in their proper order is not the expensive option on a menu. It is where this entire story has been leading since the first sentence of this message. The child wakes fully and is finally allowed to receive fully. And that is not two separate outcomes stitched together. It is one outcome arriving in the order it was always meant. This is the whole of what I have been calling child mind reversal, said plainly one more time long ago. A teacher said the kingdom belongs to those who become like children and then receive it. That verse is not being read at you today. The steps are being finished in you. Getting fixed is where every journey through this actually starts if you are only ready to start. Wake up the child first, and that's a good way to start on its own. It's only the second wave that applies to you. If the child never really fell asleep and the receiving door was always closed, that door is also waiting for you. In either case, both waves are part of the same fixing, so they don't pile on top of each other. And picking the full path has nothing to do with saving money. It was never about the money. Along with this, there are two things that move with each wave. Both of them are yours from the start, no matter which path you choose. With Genius Child, you can make sure that your child never loses this signal again, just like it did before. It was made with the next generation in mind. There are also 20 wealth signal success stories, which are real stories from people who went through the same reopening before you. These are their own words, not mine. There is a 90-day money-back guarantee on everything here. There are no strings attached, and there is nothing to send back because none of this was ever a physical item. You can still get that refund, but you won't get that bonus back. The publisher says that less than 5 out of every 100 people who have already gone through one or both of these waves have ever asked for their money back. You don't have to learn a new system or start a new discipline for any of this. You just listen. It comes by email just minutes after it starts. There is no shipping and nothing recurring, waiting for it. Later, people spend a weekend at a spiritual retreat, months going through a course on how to have a prosperous mindset, or a whole season of paid coaching sessions trying to do the same thing that this asks of you in just 12 minutes a day. Remember that morning you stood in for me a short time ago. Something good happened and you didn't do anything to turn it down. These two signals stay in the same place every day. Every day morning takes a little longer to come true. Not because something is being taken away, but because the door hasn't been walked through yet. There is already a version of you on the other side of that door. It is not waiting for luck or for something far away to change first. It only needs this moment. The one you're in right now, for you to finally turn toward it instead of away from it. What is waiting for you is not something that you will decide later. Right now it is below this message where it has been the whole time. All of the above plus the full guarantee can be found in the same place as the original audios that were made using real well thought out technology. All of it comes together in one place. And that one place is sitting below this message. Waiting quietly for the person whose message it is. Let this be quiet for a moment. Take a deep breath and rest your hand lightly on your chest. Which is more likely for you? That the child inside you has been asleep for a long time, or that the child is already awake but hasn't been able to reach what is proper for it. Yet your spirit knows which one is right more than your mind does. And you don't have to tell anyone what the answer is. Following this will lead to the same places. They have been waiting for you. Below this message, there isn't just one link in these paths that's made for one type of person. They're pinned below this message and in the comments as well. So, one of them is already close to where you are listening today. Your spirit already knows which door has been calling your name. There is no wrong way to go here. There is only your path to take. Don't try to talk yourself out of it like you might have done in the past. Listen to your gut. Just walk through. Just one more thing for people whose path goes further than what we've already named today. You may feel like going even further. If that sounds like you, there are 2 more pieces just for you. It's like the fixing wave but stronger. And it's made for people that the first wave doesn't reach completely. With Wealth Signal Accelerator, the channel for reception opens up faster. If your hands have been closed for a very long time, you will not meet either of these people until after you have gone through the first door. These 2 paths are only there for the rare path that needs more, and only if your spirit says it does. The original path is complete on its own. Now is the time to calm down. This message doesn't need to take you anywhere else. No matter what you do with what you heard today, you are still the same person you were at the start. Just now I'm a little more aware of it. You never really lost the child inside you. Not for a single day in all these years. It was just waiting patiently in a room. You stopped going to until someone opened the door and said its name out loud. Take a slightly longer breath out. The next time as you let out your breath, let go of whatever you've been holding to quietly during this whole message. You don't have to hold it that tight anymore. You have always been a child of light. Even when the lights were dimmed or the hand was closed, the wonder was always meant to come back to you. You are the one for whom the reception channel was always meant to open again. This is the start of something new. Share it with someone who needs to hear it as much as you did today. Tell them this straight out like someone did for you when they told you something true. That's how it is. Something good came your way that morning and you didn't do anything to turn it down. That's not a picture I gave you to admire. It's a door. For some of you today, it was just a pretty picture. Some of you felt the kind of recognition that you don't need to be told is real. You already know which one it was. What you need is quietly waiting below this message. Right where it was the whole time you were listening. Chosen one, please be careful from now on and don't carry this by yourself. The thing that had been coming after you since before you could talk about it was never something outside of you. It was the kid who never really left. They kept knocking on the same day every week until today, when you finally opened the door quietly before we get to the end of this powerful story. Let's reflect on this deep truth. You did not find this message by accident. This is a divine appointment meant specifically for you. You are being invited into a protected faith-filled community at the link in the description and pinned comment. A place where divine abundance is not just a hope but a promise built on the Word. By heading to the site right now, you are unlocking access to a sacred community of like-minded believers. When you join our membership tiers, you gain immediate entry to powerful content, daily devotions, and divine insights that are hidden from the world. This is your chance to enter Sanctuary, where you will receive spiritual guidance, unwavering support on our prayer wall, and speedy progress toward your destiny. Do not let this moment of destiny pass you by. Your breakthrough is waiting. Join our inner circle through the exclusive link in the description. This is how you guarantee you never miss the personalized messages and spiritual warfare tools meant to elevate your life. If you feel called to deepen your connection, the link is waiting for you in both the pinned comment and the description. For those who want to amplify this work and carry the light home, you can find our guided ebooks and Bibles in the pinned comment. Whether you join as a member or sow a seed through our resources, your presence and energy change the world. Take the step. Your abundance awaits.